everybody. I'm Carrie Grant, and I'm the owner and head trainer at Denver Dream Dog. And I'm so happy we're taking this class together. I've taught this class a lot of times, and I never get tired of it because it's so fun to watch the dogs come in. They're nervous. Sometimes they're a little wild, maybe a little fearful, and owners are a little uncomfortable and not feeling good. And to watch everybody just, the dogs develop poise, they develop confidence, the people just start to fall in love with their dogs. It's fun. It's a super fun class, and it's a great place to start. You'll never regret that you laid this foundation with your dog. It's a fantastic way to begin. And once you finish, the world is your oyster. Basically, let me tell you just a few things in terms of items to bring to class. You'll have this same list in your packet, but let me just go over this briefly. One of them has to do with having a blanket or a mat for your dogs. And you might well bring one for yourself. Some of the places I teach have chairs, some do not. And there are times when the dogs are working and maybe you're taking a break and you're watching. You may want to have a little spot to sit as well. But for sure bring one for your dog, and people will bring blankets, they'll bring welcome mats, they'll bring bath mats, anything you want to bring. But it would be nice if it's something that's easy to transport, something you can roll up, because this mat will actually become something that you'll begin to take with you other places. When you take your dog places, when you need certain behaviors out of your dog, this mat itself will become a visual cue for your dog to relax and hang out and be quiet. So make it something that's easy for you to transport. Secondly, I would bring, in terms of treats, we use a lot of very small treats. There's always the bribe aspect, certainly, of treats, but more importantly, there's a lot of brain chemistry that happens in terms of dogs with learning, with searching, with, and basically treats are a part of that. It's a way of changing your dog's emotional point of view in training, and it's a way to put your dog in a happy place in a super fast period of time. So you use a lot of them, but you want small ones. I mean, when I'm talking small, I'm talking super small. What I have here is called meat roll, and it's kind of a little bit sticking together, but I cut them into very small pieces. Small, like, a fifth of an M&M. It's really small because you don't want your dogs to fill up, and you don't want to waste a lot of time while they're chewing and working it out. So small pieces. Again, this is what I use called meat roll. It's very nutritious. It's relatively inexpensive compared to treats that are already cut up. It's just something the dogs go crazy for. I always go to people's houses, I bring the treats, and they're like, sorry, my dog doesn't really like treats. And I'm like, they'll like these, let me tell you. And they do. They're always so surprised. People are like, oh my God, that dog loves those treats. Where do I get those? So let me show you. This is what I use. This is a company called Red Barn, which you can get online. You can also get it at PetSmart, Petco. It's a different brand than Red Barn, but you can get, Natural Balance, Pet Botanics. There are all sorts of different brands of this same thing. I happen to like Red Barn the best because it sticks together really well, but it's totally up to you. Any of the rest, if they crumble a little bit, you can just put it on top of their food. It's no big deal. Anyway, it's nutritious, relatively inexpensive, and so that's something to consider. You also might want to look at even just roast chicken. Just some roast beef cut up into really tiny pieces. That's relatively cheap. Again, if you compare that to what you're going to buy out there at the store already packaged, it's a good way to go. Some people use hot dogs, really small sliced hot dogs. Some people use cheese. But those things tend to be, you can do a small bit. Sometimes it's nice to have a little alternate treat sometimes just to kind of get the dog's attention back. But I tend to think those things are a little bit rich, especially for the puppies. And so anyway, consider any of those possibilities. All those will work. The other thing I like to have is this treat bag, which is nice because it pops open and shut. And you'll find sometimes your dogs are like, oh, I really want what's in your bag. And they're trying to put their nose in there at times, especially if you've got a tall dog. So it's nice to be like, sorry, clap it down shut, and you're good. There are also treats you can get which are round, and they just kind of hook on your belt. That's fine too. I feel like they're a little cumbersome sometimes because they do have a tendency to fall off, and the dogs are always kind of trying to stick their nose in there. But whatever you find is great. It's just convenient to have something other than, you know, having a bunch of smashed food inside your pocket. So anyway, consider that. Have that on your first class, and that really is that's a great start. When you go to class, make sure also you bring your clicker. I have a little stretchy thing on my clicker, which I got at, you know, any Home Depot, any place that makes keys. They're going to have those. It's just convenient, or a little lanyard. It's just nice to have something that you can just have it on hand and have it when you need it, and you can kind of get rid of it. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about clicker training. Clicker training itself is just it's a fantastic way to learn to communicate with your dogs. You know, the old way that people used a lot in terms of positive training had to do with, you know, using a treat that you would bring, and the dog would kind of follow it, and you're sort of positioning him and getting him in the right place. What you find with that kind of training, though, is that the dog his brain is not really engaged. He's just kind of following his nose. Versus clicker training, your dog is really connected with you and really trying to understand what you want them to do. It's a way to get a dog that is creative, a dog that has his own, just offers a sense of initiative. It's just a great way for you to learn to communicate with the dog, essentially. You know, there's a quote I'll read to you, which I always just love. It's animals are a lot smarter and more aware than we used to think. They show humor, affection, regret, and uncanny intelligence and depth of thought. But you have to know how to bring it out. And how you bring that out is by way of the clicker. It's a common language we can begin to use with our dogs. It's very powerful. This isn't like a watered down version of what you find at PetSmart or what have you. This really has to do with learning theory, the way a dog learns, and the way you can shape anything you want from a dog, and in a way that's fun for you both. So essentially what you're doing with a clicker, you know, your clicker marks the moment that a dog does something that you like. And dogs are so aware of their bodies, what their bodies are doing every moment, that once they realize that a clicker is capturing a snapshot of what he's doing, he'll start to repeat that. Once he gets clicker savvy and realizes, oh, I just did something great, he'll start to offer that more and more and more for you. You know, food and luring, it's just not enough. I mean, for one thing, you know, we feed our dogs all the time, and it has never really, you know, it doesn't necessarily make a big impression on your dog. It's pretty commonplace. And the same thing with affection and praise. People are always like, oh, I just want my dog to work for my affection and my praise. But the fact of the matter is, it's not a very good way to get good, fast, accurate behaviors. Affection and praise, you know, in the end, that's a wonderful goal. But in the beginning, when a dog is first trying to go through the mental challenge of figuring out what you want and really trying to offer it to you, affection and praise just aren't strong enough. And the fact is, really, a lot of times people have had their dogs a short enough period of time that affection and praise doesn't really mean that much yet. So in any case, this is a way to get a fast response, really effective, fast training that the dog always remembers. Because basically they were involved as you're learning these things together.